Curry gets free. Curry puts up a three. Bang! Reeves on the drive. He banks it in, and the Lakers win a thriller.
Lakers are going to go 7 games over 500 for the first time this season.
Oh, a silencer. LeBron James.
We know what Bron and Steph does, but you add 2 more power players, get the popcorn popping, it's going to be good.
The first 3 chapters of the Warriors-Lakers showdown this season, they have been epic. But tonight, you're adding 2 powerhouses to the mix. This is going to be dynamite. Let's start with Golden State. The Warriors, they've turned back into a juggernaut with Jimmy Butler sharing the floor with Steph. They've won 90% of their games with both stars in the lineup, 20 games into this partnership. Now, the Lakers, they haven't been quite at that clip, but their 11-6 record with Luka and LeBron in the lineup, it's even more impressive when you consider it includes wins over the Knicks, the Rockets, the Nuggets, as well as the Clippers twice. So back to the Warriors here. With Jimmy and Draymond leading the defense, Golden State, they've had the league's best defense since Butler debuted. That's up from 10th before Butler arrived and 15th last season. And after a slow start to his Lakers career here, Luka has returned to his prolific self in March. He's one of 2 players to average at least 30 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists in this time, along with the 3-time MVP Nikola Jokic. We have a legendary game tonight, so that means we have a legendary panel. Our senior writer, Brian Windhorst, all-legend team captain Michael Wilbon, the Hall of Famer, joining us here, and our NBA champ Kendrick Perkins as well. Let's talk about this because Jimmy and Luka, they've changed the dynamic of this matchup a little bit here. But I'm curious, Brian, who's gotten the bigger boost from their new co-star? Is it Steph with Jimmy or is it LeBron with Luka?
Well, Malika, look at that record you just showed.
Yeah.
I mean, 18-2. How can you argue with that? And they're 12-0 with the current starting lineup that they're using with Moses Moody and Brandon Pajemski around their big 3. And how can you ignore that? And I do not want to offend the Rockets fans out there because they have worked very hard. But honestly, the Warriors, to me, are the secret number 2 seed in the Western Conference. There's not that much difference between teams that are 2 through 7 or 8. I think they all believe they can beat each other. The way the Warriors are playing with this group, with that defense that can play fast and aggressive with Jimmy Butler, I think this is the second best team in the West right now with a huge test tonight to try to climb up and chase the Lakers in front of them.
You know, I like to start arguments. What a surprise. But I'm not going to argue with my dear friend Brian. I'm just not. I think, look, we're into hair splitting right now when you ask that question, Malika, which is why it's such a fascinating discussion. We're talking tiebreakers. And I think the Lakers had an outside chance already.
Okay.
Outside chance, if very healthy. They get Luka. It's clearly a change, not just a bump. But I'm going to go with Golden State as well. Jimmy adds more than one dynamic. We're talking about a 2-way player. We're going to see that Perkins. We talked about that last night. Obviously, you remember about what it is Jimmy Butler can bring tonight at both ends of the floor. Luka is not going to give you that second dimension defensively. He's going to be just a massive upgrade, as great an upgrade as you can get offensively, and the Lakers are benefiting from that and figure 2 in the playoffs. But Jimmy Butler with Steph and Draymond, I mean, their own feeling about themselves. We heard that. You know that from talking to Draymond. We all heard Draymond talk about that on his podcast and other places. And Stephen, just their body language. And I'm not a big body language guy, but it seemed to change so obviously. So I, too, narrowly am going with Golden State on the bump.
I keep hearing footsteps, baby.
Oh, I didn't realize this was American Idol today.
I hear them footsteps coming, and I was wrong. I thought Golden State getting Jimmy Butler wasn't going to move the needle. Damn it, it did. And what made me open my eyes was that game against the Memphis Grizzlies. That was a signature win. Memphis went out there, Ja gave them everything that they possibly can, but it was how they got it done. Yes, Steph had 52, but the Jimmy with the 27 points, it opened up my eyes to see the real true value of Jimmy Butler. Yes, we know he's a defensive dog, and with him and Draymond anchoring that defense, communicating, doing all those special things that they do, that's one thing. The second thing is the things that Jimmy could do offensively. If you want him to run the offense, he does that. You want him to go to the low block and post up, he does that. Pin down, screen setting. And not only has that opened it up for Steph Curry, Moses Moody, his points has went up. Podziemski, his play has went up. He has gave this team life and a joy right now, and I'm with Wendy, I'm with Wilborn. This Warriors team today is the second best team in the Western Conference.
Even though the Lakers right now, they're sitting in third in the Western Conference. And no, it's the Golden State Warriors. Well, you're not the only one. It's not just us that are excited to see these new additions, how this is going to impact this rivalry here. Draymond Green, he's expecting an uptick in the competition as well.
Those are two power players. And then they also have a guy over there who's playing like a power player and is becoming a power player in Austin Reeves.
Are we good with saying that they have a big three at this point?
Austin Reeves is not the same Austin Reeves we saw 4 months ago. It's a different player. And I give him that credit.
So you can hear my full conversation with Draymond in about 20 minutes. But Wendy, stamp it. He says that the Lakers have a bona fide big three here. So looking ahead to the postseason, we could see this matchup in the first round right now. That's not the seeding. Which trio do you have more faith in heading into the playoffs?
Okay, so LeBron and Luka are probably first ballot Hall of Famers, okay? So I do not want to take a position here that is diminishing them. However, when you look at the way the Warriors' big three fits together, what Jimmy and Draymond and Steph do complements each other better, whereas what the Lakers do with these three guys who primarily play on the perimeter, all three of them have to kind of lower their games and share a little bit. And I want to point out, this Lakers roster is still not perfected. They're still going to need to make some tweaks until those three can be fully empowered, probably next season, whereas I think you're seeing the Warriors fully empowered. I'm qualifying all of this to say I believe it's the Warriors, even though it's very hard to take a position against those two studs with the Lakers.
Can we focus in on Austin Reeves and how he affects this for a second, though? Because LeBron James, he made an interesting point on his Mind the Game podcast recently. He said that the addition of Luka has allowed Austin Reeves to have the third best guy defending him now. And that's opened up something new for Austin.
Well, that's what we often see with these acquisitions. What's the comfort level of a player already on your roster? And how much does it make that player more comfortable on the floor, better on the floor, better able to deal with opponents defending him? And that's where Austin Reeves was already just getting better. Draymond sounds such like a coach then, which of course he is too at this stage of the game. So Austin Reeves is a different player, as Draymond pointed out. But he fits so much better, Perk, it seems to me, in that third slot. He can do less, which makes him more effective.
He can, but right now, the way that LeBron has been looking since his injury, he's going to have to do more.
What do you mean by that?
But meaning I feel like he's going to have the ball more in his hands. I believe that LeBron James are going to do the extra things, the little things that doesn't show up in the stat sheet. He's going to lean. I think LeBron James is going to lean more on Luka and Austin Reeves. We saw it 2 years ago when that trust first got there in that Memphis series, right? And I go back to the Pacers game. Luka came out hot. You remember against the Indiana Pacers a few nights ago. He came out hot. He was scorching, but the Lakers were still down. All of a sudden, Luka went to the bench. LeBron was struggling in the second quarter, but he was on the floor doing other things, rebounding and things of that nature. Austin Reeves took over.
Right.
The Lakers went on an 18-0 run. I said, okay, cool. This is Austin Reeves that I'm talking about right here.
We're getting into the X's and O's of this game and what is going to be so fascinating to watch. But since we have the legendary Michael Wilbon sitting next to us here, can you just, before we go to break, put into context this game? I do not think that we are coming off a week that has had some excellent regular season basketball. The Nuggets and the Timberwolves, for example. It doesn't get bigger than LeBron versus Steph.
No, it really doesn't. And well, here's what I don't want to see, Malika. I don't want to see the ultimate main course of the playoffs served in the first round.
No, this is just an amuse-bouche.
I know, but it's good to have a little taste tonight, but that's enough. They're in a position where they could be 4-5.
We like appetite.
They could be 3-6, and I don't want to see that in the first round. You'd like to see that in the second round, but But tonight is, yes, this is as good as
tonight is must-see.
basketball.
Tonight is must-see TV.
It is must-see.
I'm telling you, I'm rushing out of the studio to catch a flight at 3:30 so I can make it home at 8:30 and be in front of my TV at 9 o'clock when this game.
Are we walking across the street?
We're walking across the street. As soon as we get off the air here, we got to get here early. Coast-to-coast trips, they're getting a little bit bumpy with the playoff race heating up, although everyone out west is chasing the Thunder here. So with just under 4 minutes to go last night against the Pistons, OKC only led by 4. That was just fine. The Thunder, they didn't allow another Detroit point for the remainder of the game, Wilbon. Are there any questions you have unanswered about this juggernaut?
I mean, the playoffs always pose new questions, but when you can play this way defensively, there have been some nights where SGA, certainly going to get my MVP vote, has had a 7 for 23 or 8 for 24 night shooting, and it doesn't matter because defensively they can shut you down and out, and did last night to close out that game.
Next up, Wilbon, congratulations to Houston. We have playoff liftoff. The Rockets, they locked up a spot in the postseason last night with a win over the Jazz. So, Perk, how dangerous can this Rockets team be?
H-Town in the building. Right now, guess what? It's a successful season for the Rockets. Unfortunately, they're not going to be dangerous in the postseason, and that's okay because they don't have that guy, that closer that they're going to need in the tough Western Conference to take them home in tight games.
Can we give our respect, though, to Chris Paul? 20th year in the NBA.
Absolutely.
And he has not missed a game. Mad respect. And with last night's victory against the Nuggets, no Jokic in this one, the Spurs, they got their 32nd win of the season. That means $262,000 for CP3. Windy, what are the chances that Chris Paul's back in San Antonio next year?
He's got all the options on the table. I think the Spurs would love to have him back. I think he could go sign with another team. I think he could go coach in the league next year, Malika. I think he could be in this studio with us if he wanted to be. But knowing Chris Paul, he's going to want to be on the court because he can still make an impact. That's where the most money is still.
There's no place he'd rather be. Now Anthony Davis and Klay Thompson, they're fighting to stay ahead of the Kings for that 9th spot.
But Malika and Wilbon, you know what they say, Chi-Town's finest in old Players Club, they say, Chi-Town, don't pay a country boy nothing. Here's the thing about AD, right? He could have sat out for the remainder of the season. He didn't want to. He wanted to be out there on the floor with his guys. He wanted to go out there and show the Mavs fans that they have hope and belief and give them something to be happy about. I understand it was a funeral when Luka Doncic left, but guess what, Dallas? Y'all got one right now. A guy that's a generational talent in the middle of his prime. Anthony Marshawn Davis Jr. is here. He's happy to be in the Dallas Maverick uniform, and I can't wait to see what he does the rest of the season, and especially in the play-in tournament.
Last night we were talking about this in studio, Michael Wilbon. The fact that Anthony Davis came back, so many were saying, okay, maybe he's going to shut it down for the season. But we were talking about how much we admired the quote that he had when he said, I would see guys come in when they only had 8 guys available and laying on the floor exhausted. And if you see that and don't feel like you need to go out and battle with them if you can, that's what he wants to be a part of.
You know, let's face it, that whole operation, Malika, was depressed and probably still in the last vestiges of it now. And Anthony Davis, I admire what he did. I mean, he looked right into the camera. He needed to do 2 things, and I think he understood this, to sort of resuscitate them. Play first, but also tell people, Perk, locally in North Texas, where people has been down and out and angry, hey, wait a minute. I am not going to shut it down. I'm going to come back and play. And he played with a fire last night that I really feel bad now, even more so that Kyrie's injured and not part of this. Because you know what? Dallas would have been a really fascinating team to watch in the playoffs with everybody in that lineup.
It's sort of the one thing that this Wild West postseason chase is missing is a healthy Dallas Mavericks team. But, Windy, I just said it, they did get Derek Lively back. They have Anthony Davis back. And guess who's coming to town next week? Oh, yeah, it's Luka Doncic's return game.
Yeah, I think what you're seeing from AD, he's motivated by 4 different things. We touched on some of them. He's motivated to send a message to the fans. He's motivated to send a message to his teammates, his new teammates, that this is going to be something he's invested in. And he's motivated to do something for Nico Harrison, the guy who he's known for decades, the guy who believed in him to make this trade. He wants to have his back as much as he can. And he wants to do it for himself. He wants to show everybody and show himself that he can still be the centerpiece of a franchise. And I loved that they went to him in an isolation play at the top of the key down the stretch of this game to get the game-winning basket. That was Jason Kidd saying, I'm going to put the ball in our hands of our best player that we got healthy out there, give him the ball, clear out, and go to work. And he got it done. And so there's a lot left for Anthony Davis to say, even if the Dallas Mavericks aren't going to be able to put their best foot forward the rest of the season.
Yeah, but it's kind of fun to see a taste. What were you asking for earlier? Just an appetizer of what the Dallas Mavericks can be when Kyrie Irving eventually. Champ, Draymond Green, thank you so much for stopping by NBA today.
I appreciate y'all having me.
It's always a good day, Draymond, when you are in studio, particularly when you were coming off a game like you all just did. Last outing, you have a triple-double. Steph Curry has 50 points here. In year 13 together, what do you guys say to each other on the floor after a game like that?
You know, honestly, you can tell when he's locked in and ready to go, and you don't need to say anything. And last night, he had the look in his eyes. He had the look in his eyes of shoot-around, though. And so coming into that game, and if there's one person that doesn't forget anything, he remembers the last time we played at Memphis. And so we go on the shoot-around yesterday, and Chris DeMarco calls our first unit in, and he's like, y'all remember what happened the last time we played at Memphis? I'm like, stop. Enough. Like, we don't need to hear about that.
Don't talk about the no field goals, right.
We'll move forward. We're not listening to that. And we had this moment, and Steph started yelling, yeah, me and Chris DeMarco going, and he starts yelling. So you just know when he's locked in. But I told him at the free throw line, when they fouled him, he had 50, and he went to the free throw. I said, man, oh, you already got 50. Well, go ahead and get 52. That's not bad for a 40-year-old.
That's not bad for a 40-year-old. That makes me worry about what you're going to say to the actual 40-year-old when you face off against LeBron James.
He got to hear it, too.
You said, Draymond, in February, that acquiring Jimmy Butler, this team was going to win a championship. So you saw 18-2 with Steph and Jimmy Butler in the lineup. You already were foreshadowing that?
I can't necessarily lie to you and say I saw 18-2, but what I saw was who Jimmy Butler is. We already know who Steph Curry is. We already know what he can do and how he can carry. But now you add a force like Jimmy, who's a force on both sides of the ball. He's a force on the defensive side of the ball, and he's an extreme force on the offensive side of the ball. And when you look at that, I took a step back, and I'm like, all right, so what are the challenges here? Because he wants to win. And I know we want to win. So this is a match made in heaven. You got a guy who want to win come into a situation with some guys that want to win and are trying to figure it out.
Right.
It's not like it's the made team that people have looked at for the last 9 or 10 years. This is a team that's real and trying to figure it out, and we need that presence. And I just felt really strongly about what he can bring to this team. And we saw it for 2 games, but I'll tell you the story. In 2022, my friend Danny, they were all going to F1 Miami. And I was like, Danny, I'll see you in Miami. Like, I'll be there for F1. There's no chance we're getting out of the first round of playoffs. He's like, all right. I called him after the very first game because if you remember that year, Clay came back, I got hurt. The game I came back, Steph got hurt.
Yeah.
And so we hadn't played together. Our first game playing together was the first playoff game. I called Danny after the game. I said, Danny, I'm not going to see y'all at F1. We're going to win the championship. And he was like, what are you talking about? You just told me y'all are going to lose. I said, I know what it looks like, Danny, and I just felt like this looked that way. So
you're getting those same sort of 2022 vibes, and you're not the only one in the organization who has said that this team feels like it has something special. And I imagine some of that, though, is Jimmy Butler coming in, having been on the finals stage and not having finished the mission, wanting to prove maybe something there. You've been to the finals and won many times. You've been to the finals and you haven't gotten the job done. What is it about this team that makes you believe that it'll be the former?
I think this team has the ability to match different lineups. When you look at all championship teams, they have abilities. If a team go big, they can match that. If a team goes small, they can match that. If they need three-point shooting lineup, they can do that, right? If they need an all-defensive lineup, they can go to that lineup. And I just think the versatility of this roster with adding Jimmy Butler and what it does against other matchups, it allows us to match up against anyone, and I like that. I think that's what you need to win a championship.
I believe you. Sitting here, I can feel your conviction, and then I look at your path. Just for the record, it could be, as it stands right now, Luka and LeBron, then the Oklahoma City Thunder, and then potentially the 3-time MVP. Those are the teams you could play.
Absolutely.
Who do you want to see?
Well, I think anytime we face LeBron, that's always cinematic. It's always an incredible challenge. So that's always fun. But honestly, all three of those teams are going to be tough. And if you're going to make it out this Western Conference, we can look at the standings. You look at pretty much 1 through 8 is right there. And I mean, not 1, they're a little ahead of everybody, but 2 through 8 is kind of right there. And so any path you go through is going to be tough. All the teams in the Western Conference are good. So it really doesn't matter to me. I think when we're healthy, I like our chances against anyone. When
you all are having this team success, that's when the conversation of individual accolades and individual greatness comes along with it. And our friend Raymond Ritter, who's your PR director, he said that you have a current focus. He may have even said an obsession in joining a certain group. What is that group?
Well, there's this group of guys that have 10 all-defense teams. They made 10 NBA all-defensive teams. It's Kobe Bryant, it's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, it's Kevin Garnett, it's Scottie Pippen, and it is
Tim Duncan. Yeah.
All first ballot Hall of Famers, all some of the best defenders we've ever seen in NBA history, and I'm at 8. By no means am I either one of them. But if I can just put my name next to that group, like, wow.
I was having a conversation about a month ago. It was after the Milwaukee Bucks game when you held Giannis to 0-7, I believe it was, from the field. Are you the most important defensive player to your team over the last 20 seasons? Do you think that?
I think so. I look at defense the same way people look at offense. For some reason in our game, it's not viewed that way. But like you have a focal point on offense, you have a focal point on defense. There's someone that's making this defense go. Steph Curry leads our offense, no question, and now Jimmy Butler is leading that offense with them. I want to be the leader, and I've always tried to be the leader on the defensive side of the floor for our team, and defense wins championships, so you need it.
Draymond, you have a well-decorated trophy case. Would it bother you if there was only one Defensive Player of the Year when it's all said and done?
It would bother me. I think if you look at the last, call it 10 years of basketball, we've been right at the center of basketball over the last 10 years, having an extreme amount of success. And I think I've been at a pretty high level defensively over the course of those 10 years. To only have one, I think a couple of mine are sitting in a couple other people's trophy case. I think I've worked my tail off to continue to maintain that level, play at the level that I'm playing at, and what I bring to the defensive side of the ball. I don't think you can find anyone else in the NBA that does that.
This award, many people say it was open and shut when Victor Wembanyama, before he was unfortunately shut down for the rest of the season. We know, you know this better than anyone, he's coming. He's coming back. He is here. Does this feel like your last best shot at this award?
I think, and knowing Wemby, I spoke about it earlier in the year on my podcast. I spoke about it last year with Wemby and Chet, because obviously before the injury with Chet, everybody's like, yo, Chet, Wemby.
Real deal.
And they are, right? And get them young guys their credit. What they're doing is amazing. I think this is one of the last best chance I'll have. Like I said, I think I've put together a good case. I got another 6 or 7 games to continue to make that case. But whatever happens, I think I should win it, but I do wish luck to all the guys that are in the running, because it's an incredible thing.
It is. And in the most immediate future now, in those 6 games that you have left, you're facing the Los Angeles Lakers. And there have been many battles that have been well documented and that we have savored over the years between your Golden State Warriors and LeBron James, both in a Cleveland Cavaliers uniform and now in a Los Angeles Lakers uniform. But none of those matchups before had Luka Doncic and Jimmy Butler in them.
Absolutely.
How does that change things?
Those are 2 power players. And then they also have a guy over there who's playing like a power player and is becoming a power player in Austin Reeves.
Are we good with saying that they have a big 3 at this point?
Austin Reeves is not the same Austin Reeves we saw 4 months ago. It's a different player. And I give him that credit. But adding Luka Doncic to LeBron James, it's funny because earlier this year, Stackhouse and I were talking about guys who can make a particular pass against our defense. And I was like, yo, it's really only 3 guys in the league that can make that pass. James Harden, from a guard position. Joker can make any pass. But James Harden, LeBron James, and Luka Doncic. Now you got both of these guys on one team. One thing with Luka and Bron is they are capable of getting you a good shot every time down the floor. And that's such an incredible weapon to have. Now, I think there are ways to put them in uncomfortable positions, and we have to try to make them as uncomfortable as we possibly can. And I think, we have the defense, and now with Jimmy, we have the personnel to be able to do that and to match up with a bigger team like that. Whereas before, I didn't think we had that. But you add 2 power players to this situation. We know what Bron and Steph does, but you add 2 more power players. Get the popcorn popping. It's going to be good.
That's going to be box office. I'm feeling very good about canceling my dinner plans to be able to attend this game. Draymond Green, as always, thank you so much for stopping by NBA today.
Thank you, Malik. I appreciate you having me.
Always.
Tonight is going to be fun, but now on to the hottest team in the East. Yes, the Miami Heat, literally hot. They've won their 6th straight last night. They snapped the Celtics' 9-game winning streak. Boston was without Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday for the game. Jaylen Brown, he led the Celtics with 24 points, but after the game, he spoke about the injury that's been nagging him that he's been working through. Take a listen.
I've had to come to grips that every night I'm not going to feel my normal self, but that doesn't mean I still can't, make plays and things like that. So it's just something that we are working through. Today was a good step forward. I got some stuff, lined up with the medical staff in order to be and feel better come playoffs. But, as for now, just mentally working through, not feeling great, but still able to, find ways to be effective, I guess.
So, Windy, how concerned are you with the injuries here for the Boston Celtics?
Well, first off, let me say, Malika, seeing the Miami Heat win a game in Boston, nobody thought they would win. I've only seen that about 20 times in the last decade, so not much of a surprise. Yes, you could see recently that Jaylen's been laboring a little bit at times on that knee. However, the Celtics don't put him on the court unless they feel good that he's going to be okay. He also, as he mentioned, he goes 10 of 20 in this game. He was their best player in this game. And so, yes, I think it's something to monitor, but I'm also going to tell you, I don't think the Celtics are going to face a heavy, serious challenge probably until the Eastern Conference Finals, that they are going to have to be at their best game. So Jaylen has a long time to get 100% on that knee.
Right, they're essentially locked into the 2 seed here. Brian Perk, let's take a look elsewhere in the East at today's electric moment brought to you by Hyundai. Jared Allen had a night against the Knicks. And yes, normally this would be an Allen block, but we wanted to focus on the breakaway